You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege and honor of interviewing the USA's track hammer thrower, Jill Shippee. How are you doing today?
Hey, good. How are you?
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in competing in track and field?
Yeah, I started in high school. Well, I guess the end of eighth grade, so the end of middle school, but track and field kind of came to me. I didn't really come to it. My gym coach in eighth grade had been nagging me to kind of throw the shot put and the discus around a little bit on the high school track team, and I had no interest. I was soccer player, basketball, softball. I did all the other sports, but no interest in track and field until he kept nagging me, and then I finally gave in and started throwing the shot put in the discus, and it started all from there.
Of course, what was that like getting to go to UNC Chapel Hill and getting to compete in shot put at Chapel Hill?
Yeah, UNC was a dream. I wanted to go to a big school. I knew that. I went to a really big high school, and I knew I wanted to go to a big sports school for college. I thought it was going to be for soccer, but more and more offers came for track and field, and more scholarship offers. So decided to go that route. And I was really excited about it because I didn't have to wait for playing time or sit on the bench or anything. Track and field is all just about yourself. So I knew that if I worked hard and threw far, then I'd be able to do well and have a good time. So ended up on choosing UNC after a long process and trying to figure out which side of the country I wanted to be on. I knew I definitely wanted to be in a warmer climate because I'm from New York. So I wanted to be able to train and live in the outdoors without having to worry about snow. So North Carolina was my top pick, and I loved it. I again, being a soccer kid growing up, I loved watching UNC women's soccer. So why not why not make it for UNC track and make them as big as UNC soccer is. So it's been a dream being in Chapel Hill and doing my 5 years there. It was awesome.
Of course, what was that experience like for you coming to UNC and, as you said, getting to make the track and field program at UNC what it is in the women's soccer program?
Yeah, no, it was awesome because the class I came in with, we were actually a pretty heavy pretty heavily recruited class. So the few of us that we signed together all kind of top in our class in high school, and somehow we all ended up at UNC. So we brought a pretty stellar class of athletes in, and we really made a splash. There were some good existing athletes there at UNC, but we definitely added some more to the fire there, and a couple of the other throwers, some of the other jumpers and stuff. We were really national level from our freshman year. So we've kind of put UNC throws on the map. At least we made people turn some heads, like, oh, UNC has a throws program now. So that was fun. But especially now with this new staff of coaches we got in 2019, they really have turned the program around, and it's definitely going to be one of the top in the country in the next few years for sure.
How is that experience like getting to be a shot punter for UNC and getting to represent UNC?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, when you're in college, it's very school based. So you kind of have all your pride in your university. And when you go to the conference championships and you're neck and neck with Duke and all the other ACC schools that you're rivals with, wearing that Tar Heels logo and that Carolina blue is just an experience like no other. And I take a lot of pride in Carolina and what we stand for, and just being such the program we are and this university we are, and just kind of the general level of excellence that everyone holds there. So you represent all of that. Not only you don't not only represent yourself, but you represent all of what Carolina stands for. So that was a thrilling experience, and that Carolina blue is a very pretty color. I see you have it on here.
Of course, what was that feeling like getting to put on that Carolina blue track uniform and getting to represent the block NC?
Yeah. You know, it's being not a North Carolina native, I was kind of an outsider. I came from the North, so representing North Carolina as a New Yorker was a little bit of different experience than some of my teammates that were from North Carolina. But I say I'm a North Carolinian at heart now. I would love to stay down there. I like it a lot better than the Northeast, so I'd consider myself Tar Heel bred, Tar Heel dead.
Of course, throughout your time at Carolina, what was that experience like getting to set ACC records?
Yeah, yeah, that was exciting. My first ACC record I set my sophomore year. So I'd set the school record my freshman year, and then sophomore year at ACC championships. I broke the ACC record by a centimeter. So got it just there by a little bit, and then broke it a bunch of other times after that, obviously. And then my super senior season, so my fifth year this past year. I actually lost my conference record, but I still hold the ACC championship record. So that was kind of bittersweet seeing that get broken. But it's always just pushing the needle forward. With records, it's fun to hold them for a little bit and then pass them off to someone else, just because you know that it's never going to fully stick, and you don't want it to fully stick. You want everyone to keep getting better after you, and just seeing that path that you paved to get there, and just knowing that my name is in the record books and I'm one of those that kind of helped trudge that path for women's hammer throwers in the conference. And I'd love to see the current record get broken and broken again. And it's just make ACC dominance as much as you can with the throws. I think that's the big goal here. Is not only do you want personal and school dominance, but you want the pride in saying I have the best conference for the throws in the country. So that's something that you just want to keep seeing that needle get pushed forward and forward.
How does that feel to know that you still hold some records in the ACC and that your record for UNC has been broken, but you still are in the record books at UNC?
Yeah, it was bittersweet seeing that ACC conference record get broken, but again, it's just seeing the progression of everyone around you, and then knowing that you kind of helped set that bar and wanted to push other people along with you to kind of get to that level. So it's exciting, and I'd always love to be a mentor and kind of an example for a lot of other people to come behind me. And that's kind of what the sport's all about. Is we compete and we get better so that other people can compete and get better behind us, and eventually surpass where we started. So just continuing to know that you can raise that bar and you can be a part of that history and that legacy that you're leaving behind is really important.
As a track thrower at UNC, what was a typical track meet look like for you?
Yeah. So indoors is a little different. I feel like our meets were our travel was a bit longer for indoors, but outdoors was definitely my favorite, just because I liked being outdoors and I liked throwing the hammer better than the weight. But a typical meet, we would leave usually on Wednesdays, sometimes maybe Tuesdays if we were going pretty far away, but we would leave on Wednesday. We would compete sometime between Thursday and Saturday. But it was always just fun being with your team and traveling and just kind of having everyone around. I said that's when like our best team bonding moments happened, was when we were in a hotel together, when we're at a track meet together, just kind of in the trenches, all traveling together. So I really liked traveling with my team, and getting to spend more time with some of the other event groups was a really big thing for me, because we really see the throwers every day, but we didn't get to see a lot of the runners, the jumpers, the sprinters all the time. So getting to spend more time with them on the road was really fun. Trying out new food places wherever we were was always exciting too. Whatever city we were in, just looking for that staple. And then obviously competing hard. So come meet day, you got to be all in, and whatever happened before, whatever's going on in school, whatever's going on in your life before that, doesn't matter. You just kind of put that all aside and go all in on competition. And then you go home and you fly home, you drive home, and then you train to do it all over again the following weekend.
Of course, what are some of the similarities and differences between competing indoors versus competing outdoors?
Yeah, indoors it's definitely usually a lot colder. So definitely you might pack your parka for some of those meets, but indoors I didn't like it as much, just because obviously I'm not a big weight throw fan, but just in general it feels like the meet is condensed. It feels a little bit smaller. It's just, you don't have that same atmosphere that you do at an outdoor meet. There's usually less fans. So that's a really big difference. And then outdoors, obviously, it's a longer season. So there's more kind of build up for that. Whereas like indoors, it feels like once you start to get going, it's championship time. So outdoors, it's longer. So you have a bit more time to build up to that championship season. And then outdoors is really where the money is. Indoors is kind of just like a prep for outdoors. Indoor championships are always just kind of like a tune up for outdoors. And then everyone goes all in on outdoors.
What was that transition like for you from going from competing in college at UNC to making the professional circuit and competing for Team USA?
Yeah, it's definitely different. In college you have so much support and there's everything is kind of laid out in front of you. Your day is very structured. You're told where to be, what to do, when to do it, why to do it, how to do it. Everyone kind of has everything in line for you. Whereas on the other side, when you're post collegiate, when you're professional now, you have more freedom and agency to kind of choose what you want to do, when you want to do it. So that was the biggest thing for me this year was, all right, I have freedom in what meets I want to go to. Where do I want to go? And then obviously there's other complexities with that and getting invited and getting accepted and having connections and access to get to those meets. But still, it's just the freedom of having the choice of when you start your season, where you want to go, what you want to do, that kind of stuff is definitely a lot looser when you're outside of college than when you're in college, because college it's always like, all right, yeah, we have ACC championships on this date, we're going to compete 3 weeks out, we're going to do this meet, that meet, whatever. Whereas now I can kind of pick and choose what I want to do. And then the other part of it is that you're really competing for yourself. So in college, the big thing I always said was there's always a lot of pressure, with scoring points at conference meets, scoring points at national meets, and all that stuff. Making sure that the team got their money's worth with your scholarship and all of that. There was a lot of pressure in maintaining your ranking and maintaining all of that. Whereas in the professional landscape and post collegiate world, while there is pressures for obtaining, grant money and prize money and all that stuff, but you really do it because of yourself, not for anybody else, not because anybody's telling you to do it. You compete because you want to do it. So that was really the thing that I flipped my mindset from this year was that I don't have a team that I have to do this for. I'm doing this for myself. And I'm throwing because I want to. So that's really the big difference for me this year that I noticed, and something that I'm going to continue on no matter where things go or what we end up doing, but just always coming back to that mindset of I'm doing this because I want to be here, not because anybody's telling me to.
What was that feeling like the first time you got to put on that Team USA track uniform and have Team USA on your chest?
Yeah, that was crazy. So I made the under 20 world championship team for the first time back in 2018. So I went over to Finland and competed there at the under 20 world champs. So that was kind of like my first experience wearing the flag, doing all that stuff and representing USA in a different country. And it gives me chills just thinking about it. But that was kind of the very first experience I had. And then again, when you're at the professional level and you're at the senior world championships, it was a totally different ball game. You're at the same meet that all these other people that you used to look up to and you still look up to, but all these people you'd watch on TV that you see on social media, all these like big names, you're now competing alongside them and you're watching them run around the track as you're competing in the middle. So it's kind of crazy. And then also knowing that you're at the highest point of your sport. So I had to I had a few pinch me moments there when I was in Budapest and I was thinking like, wow, like I was selected to represent the USA, which is the best team in track and field, at the best meet in track and field. So, like you're kind of at the pinnacle of the sport and then just kind of ride with that and see where you can go from there. So yeah, wearing that flag on your chest, wearing that USA across your chest, it never gets old. It always feels great no matter where you are or what you're doing. But it really has a different meaning when you're at that pinnacle of your sport and at that pinnacle of your career.
What has that been like, obviously, getting to represent UNC Chapel Hill and getting to wear the Block NC, and also getting to represent Team USA and getting to represent Team USA and wear there?
Yeah, no, it was fun, bringing some of that Tar Heel pride to Budapest. We actually had someone stop us when we were in Budapest because my coach was wearing a UNC shirt and he was like, "Oh, he's like, go Tar Heels." And we're like, "Yeah." And he ended up saying he's an alum and he ran the hurdles at UNC. So, it's kind of crazy that UNC connection follows you no matter where you are in the world, and you have fans all over the place. I still get Instagram DMs and all that from previous track athletes at UNC and fans and all of that are so proud of what we're doing and where we're going. And it's really fun to kind of bring that pride and that Carolina community along with you on this ride in the rest of your career as a USA athlete.
What was that training like for you getting to prepare for the World Championship to go to Budapest, Hungary?
Yeah, the training leading up to Worlds was a little different than I probably would have liked it to be. So I was coming off of a huge meet at USA Championships, so where I punched the ticket to Budapest. I had a massive PR, super emotional high, coming off of, making my first senior world team and having that almost 2 meter PR on top of the 3 meter PR, so almost 5 meter PR on the year. But so I was kind of on a crazy high. My back had been kind of bothering me a little bit at that meet, but I just, pushed through. You're at USA Championships. You've worked all year to get there, so you kind of just got to push through it. And then when I got back, it really started bothering me. And I was almost immobile for a few days, actually. I was kind of just on bed rest, waiting for everything to go away, all the pain to go away, and didn't train for actually 2 weeks. Was in and out of the chiropractor every other day, doing acupuncture, doing all sorts of therapy, just to get me on my feet again. So that was about less than a month out from leaving for world champs. So not ideal what you want going into the world championships, but about 2 weeks out from departure to Budapest, I started to kind of feel mobile again. I started training easily again. And then really just kind of had to hit it hard and rely on my training up until that point to get me to the finish line at Budapest. So not ideal how I would have wanted it to look before leaving for the World Championships, but I'd put in a big body of work this year. Tons of reps in the fall, tons of reps in the winter. And I had a great spring. So I knew that I had a good base under me, and I was pretty confident going into the meet that I could at least do my average of what I've done all year. So that was just kind of that trust you had to have in yourself and the trust you had in your training and your coach, even when things aren't perfect.
Of course, once you did get to Budapest, Hungary, what was that like getting to represent Team USA at the World Championship at that time at the biggest stage?
Yeah, it was fun, when you're walking around there with all your USA gear on, and everyone's kind of wanting to take pictures of you because they know that USA is one of the top in the world. And then also just representing your country in general. Being that being one of those stars on the team that people look up to, that younger USA athletes or younger high school athletes look up to and say, "Oh my gosh, that's the team that I want to be on someday." And having all that glamour almost around the event and around the team is awesome. But at the core of it, it's just you're there because you're proud of your country, you're proud of the work you've put in, you're representing not only yourself but your community, your school, your family, everyone around you, and just kind of wearing that logo and wearing that flag on your chest and representing everyone that you love and trust and respect.
Of course, what are some of the similarities and differences between hammer throwing and shot putting?
Oh, yeah. So I mean, if you ask any hammer thrower, probably most of them started as a shot putter, which is funny. But um, hammer throw and shot put, definitely major similarities in terms of just general power output, strength, speed, athleticism, like all of that stuff, those core foundational movements, body awareness, all of that stuff. It's very, very similar. So I say most shot putters probably could be good hammer throwers, and probably every hammer thrower could be a good shot putter. So every thrower sort of has that, like, it's hard to describe, but that twitch, that fast twitch of speed, power, pop, to make the ball go far, and just that body awareness and the timing and everything. So definitely a lot of similarities there, but I would say obviously big differences. Hammer throwers are usually a bit taller and longer than shot putters. And we don't train our chests and our upper body as much as our shot put counterparts do. We're more back and lower body oriented. So some different training there, but other than that, at the core, all the throws are very similar in the basic foundational athletic abilities you have.
Of course, as a hammer thrower, what is that like, obviously going around in the circle, but still keeping the balance before releasing the hammer?
Yeah, everyone always asks if you get dizzy or if you if anything ever happens in the circle, but um it's a lot of muscle memory. So I was actually saying this the other day. I want to know how many throws I've taken in my life just for, my general knowledge. I can't imagine it's definitely thousands, maybe tens of thousands of throws, but lots of muscle memory. So you have very good spatial awareness, your circle awareness and kind of knowing where your feet are, where your arms are, where the ball is. The more advanced I get in the event, the more reps I put in, the more that I become in tune with those things. And it's very subconscious, that you know exactly where the ball is and you know exactly what position your foot's in, you don't even need to look. And everyone always asks me, where I look in my throw and like where my eyes are throughout the throw, throughout the four turns. And I say most of the time I black out. There's really nothing. I can't really tell you what I saw, apart from that first like 1 second of you putting the ball in and swinging it around the first time. After that, it's all a blur, because I'm more in tune with my body and feeling than what I'm looking at. So it's a lot of muscle memory, a lot of repetition, and just kind of being comfortable with what you're doing and where you are.
Of course, for you, what was that transition like from competing in shot put in college at UNC to going professionally and competing in hammer throwing?
Yeah, I wish I became more of a shot putter, to be honest. That was kind of like one of my biggest regrets is I think I could have been pretty good at the shot. And then, hammer just kind of took over and my coach at the time said, we're specializing. And I was like, all right. So I wish I kind of trained the other events a bit longer just to see what I could have done because I'm a big proponent of not wasting any potential and doing all the little things to make sure you can get the best outcome. But ended up tossing the shot aside, no pun intended, tossed the shot aside and picked up the hammer full time my freshman year of college. So kind of converting into a full-time hammer thrower was definitely a learning curve, and I'm still on the learning part of that. I still have a lot of things to figure out and a lot of things to get in tune with, but really it's just reps. You have so many variables in the throw. There's four turns, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of moving parts. And being able to hone in and feel those patterns and the things that make the hammer really go is important. So once I started training the hammer full time, obviously I got more reps accumulated under my belt, and I really kind of felt the event a little bit better than I had before. I'd thrown it a little bit in high school, not too much, but I definitely became a student of the event and a student of the throw, and was watching tons of video, watching everyone I could, men and women, every world championship, every Olympic Games final you can imagine. I was on YouTube watching, and just trying to pick up little things from other throwers was really important.
Of course, for my listeners that don't know, how do you compete in hammer throwing?
Yeah, it's so I always say it's like a shot put. So like for women, it's almost 9 pounds. For men, it's 16. But I say it's like a shot put on the end of like a long wire. So there's like 3 foot wire that's connected to, and then there's a handle at the other end of the wire. So you swing the ball around your head with the long wire, and then you turn on your heel, four times. So you come back around. You do four full turns and then you release it. So there's a lot of a lot of moving parts going on in there, and I'd say it's in lengthwise it's similar to the javelin because there's the implement is so far away from you, but in terms of power and speed and technique, a lot more similar to the circle throws, the shot put and the discus. But yeah, every throw has its different movement. I'd say shot and disc obviously most similar, but the hammer is very unique in that it's really far away from you, and it's actually one of the only sports is throwing events where you're not actually facing the field of play. So that's a fun fact, is that the throwing events, you don't face where you're throwing to start off with, you face the opposite direction. So makes it interesting. But yeah, all the throws are really fun to watch. But I mean, obviously biased to the hammer. It's the most complicated and the most fun.
What are some of your favorite memories and moments getting to represent Team USA in the throwings?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best things I'd say, so at Budapest, I was in a qualifying group with Deanna Price, who's the American record holder in the hammer, number 2 in the world all time. She's just an all over badass. She is someone that I watched a lot of video of when I picked up the hammer, and someone that I kind of followed closely during my college career, and now that I've been able to compete alongside of her and compete with her has been really exciting. But for me to be in the qualifying group with her at my first World Championships was definitely my favorite moment. Just kind of coming full circle to someone I grew up with, looking up to, and watching and taking technical notes from. And then fast forward to us wearing the same uniform at the World Championships in Budapest. So that was kind of like a surreal moment. And then just also being with the rest of the team and being with not only the throwers, but some of the other athletes that I've become close with and stuff. It's fun just kind of having that camaraderie and knowing how much time and energy and effort and emotion we've all put into training for this moment, and then kind of all coming together and being there at the same time. So I'd say the big thing was the people. Yeah. Really just being surrounded by all of the best and taking notes on not only the throws, but just on how people approach different meet environments and all of that. So lots to take away from there, just with the team, but then plenty of more notes to be taken by the actual competition.
Of course, what is that like getting to compete alongside some of your teammates like Deanna Price and Chase Easley?
Yeah, no, that was yeah, no, like I said, it was super surreal competing not only against Deanna, we didn't even feel like I was competing against her at all. It was like we were teammates kind of going after the same thing. And while we're in the competition, after I had pretty bad warm-up throws, and then it was ready for round one of qualifying, and Deanna and I were sitting next to each other on the bench, and she just looks at me and she's like, "What do you need from me?" She's like, "What can I do to help you?" And I was like, nothing. And then she just gives me a hug. And it was just kind of this like, wow, this is really happening thing of this person I looked up to for so long. And now she's asking me, what she can do for me. It's just kind of a crazy moment. And just knowing that I've worked so hard to get to that point and then be on that same level as the rest of them. Obviously, I have a long way to go in my throwing career, and I have a lot to learn and a lot to fix, and a lot of technical improvements to make to hopefully throw further. But just knowing that I worked to get to the top of the sport, and it happened. And now I can say I was on a team with Deanna Price, American record holder, and Brooke Anderson, former world champion, and Janae Casanovoid, the other medalist from the USA. And just being on that elite team and competing alongside all those people is pretty crazy.
What has that been like, obviously, getting to train with Olympians like Alex Young?
Yeah, Alex has been a fantastic training partner. He's a bit older than me in the sport. He's 4 or 5 years older than me, so he's been doing this a bit longer than I have, especially this professional scene. So he's been really helpful in helping me like navigate all the professional meets and picking an agent and my first senior US team and all of that. So he's been really helpful to just bounce ideas off and communicate with, and also just train with. He's very good at what he does. He's very strong. He's very technical. He's helped me a lot in my not only just my technical aspect of my throwing, but just like the mental side too. He's very steady. Nothing is ever catastrophic no matter how it seems, and nothing is ever too good no matter how it seems. He's very level. And it's been awesome to kind of have him by my side throughout this whole first year of professional throwing. I don't know what it would have looked like if I didn't have him to bounce ideas off of and go to and be a sounding board. So I'm really, really lucky to have him, and I wish I hope I can do the same for someone, the way that he's done that for me and be that mentor for that he's been for me.
What are some of your game day routines and rituals for competition meets?
Yeah, I'd say the big things. I usually try to stay very relaxed. So I try to treat meet day as if it's not anything super special. Because if you try to make competitions more than what they are, then you're gonna kind of go south. So for me, it's really just making things feel as relaxed and normal as possible, and approaching a competition the same way I'd approach practice. Because if you kind of build it up to be this big thing, then your body's not going to know what to do because it's never trained in that big thing. So I try to keep everything the same, and I try not to do it. I don't really eat anything different. I don't do anything different. I try to just keep it all relaxed as possible. So um usually I will have hopefully a big meal the night before, though. I'm all for my big dinners pre-meet, but when it comes to the day of, doing nothing too crazy and listening to your body and seeing what you need. If you're feeling antsy and you need to move around, I'll go for a walk or something if I'm at a hotel, and I'll just get out of the hotel. Or if I'm feeling super tired, I'll just lay down. When I was at the Tucson Elite meets back in Arizona this spring, in May, it was probably like my first biggest like professional meet, I guess you could say. But it was the biggest competition I'd gone against, that this year, and I was pretty amped up for it. But I also felt like super tired for some reason. So I literally, before both the meets in Tucson, I took a nap. I took a nap for like an hour or two, and then I woke up and I was like, all right, it's time to go to the meet. So just kind of listening to my body and seeing what it needs on the day of is really important.
What is that feeling like getting to live out your Team USA dream of being a Team USA hammer thrower?
Yeah, it's awesome. When I finished the competition in Oregon at USA's, knowing that I'd punched that ticket, it was surreal. I mean, I wasn't expecting to make the team this year. It was on my radar, but it wasn't anything that I was, I'll be so disappointed if it doesn't happen, because I knew that there's so many amazing women in the US, and there's probably 6 or 7 of us at US championships that could have all been in those 4 spots. So it's super competitive. There's a lot of women that are definitely worthy of being on the team, and it's really just about who's firing on that day at US championships. So knowing that it was me that day, and I was lucky enough to get that last spot on the team, um again, surreal moment, and wasn't expecting it at all. So it didn't hit me until like a week later that it happened. But um right when I came out of the circle, I just hugged my coach, and he's like, you did it. And then I had it was another surreal moment having Deanna and Brooke come up to me and, just say like, congrats, first team. And I was like, wow, these are both people that I watched video of, that I've, followed throughout the years, and seen their growth and seen them do extraordinary things. And now they're congratulating me on, making a team with them. So again, everything just kind of hit at once, and it didn't really soak in until like weeks later. But it was a surreal moment, especially, filling out all the paperwork and doing all the team processing. It was insane. Just saying like, wow, this really happened. And I think the morning after we were in Oregon, after the day after the competition, I woke up, like, obviously I didn't sleep much that night. I was super fired up, but I texted my coach the next morning at like 6 a.m. and I was like, what just happened? Like, what did we do? And he was like, I know. He was like, let it all soak in. So it was a lot, and it's something that you work so hard for, and something that I've always wanted to do is make a senior US team. And now that you've done it, it's the goals get higher and higher. So it's not only making a US team again, but it's making the final, making the medal podium and stuff down the years. So things to look forward to in the years to come. And I hope I have a long career ahead of me of throwing, and just, continue to get better and up that ante every year.
What is that like, obviously, getting to compete against those different countries like Canada, Mexico, Argentina?
Yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, there's definitely the throwing hotbeds over in Europe. There's a lot of really good throwers over there, and people that I've looked up to, Anita, who's the world record holder in Poland, she was also at the meet. So, competing against some of those really big names that you've watched over the years is crazy. And then also just seeing how everyone throws differently. Everyone has their own style, and certain countries kind of have similar styles of throwing. And so it's just cool to kind of see those little technical differences across continents and whatnot. And then just trying to pick up and learn as much as you can from the people around you. You learn a lot by just watching, and that's really what I do.
What is that feeling like, getting to meet your fans and having them ask for your autographs and photos with you?
It's exciting. It's fun because I used to be, that little girl at soccer games and at basketball games and baseball games asking for all the players' autographs and stuff. And now to be on the receiving end of all that, it's exciting. And you're never too big to do the little things for someone. And no matter how good you get or what you do, you can always be nice enough to sign a piece of paper for someone, and take a photo with a little kid or someone who's excited to see a US team member. Because usually it's not that they know who you are, it's more so that you represent the US and they just love the USA. So that's exciting. And then just kind of being that ambassador for your country too, and showing people that Americans are pretty awesome.
Who are some of the most influential people in your career that have shaped you into the hammer thrower you are today?
Wow, so many. I'd say the biggest one is my high school coach, Scott Dockett. He is the one that got me into throwing in the first place. And he is the one that kind of dragged me into throwing the shot put and the discus in high school. And I thought he was crazy. I didn't even know what the sport was. I had no idea what, like, that there were other events outside of running and track and field. So he kind of saw something in me that not a lot of other people did, and he saw that I was fit for the sport, and he dragged me in, and I will forever be grateful that he did that, because even to this day, he and I still talk quite often, even though I don't live in New York anymore. But we text and we chat all the time, just about throwing and life and all of that, and like where I am and where he is and how his athletes are doing now and all that stuff. So I always try to keep in tune with, my roots and the people that I owe a lot to. I try to make sure that I'm giving back to them as well. And I'll go back often to the high school and help him out with some coaching stuff, and give him some ideas for things that I've learned. But always I'm just grateful for what he did for me, and everything that he's done to get me to this point.
What are some of your future plans in the sport of hammer throwing and track and field?
So I'm gonna continue to compete, which is really exciting. Another year, so my rookie season of throwing is complete, but I'm excited to see what my second year has in store. Um, I'm looking forward to maybe getting into some better meets next year, and maybe going overseas and seeing different venues and just getting experience throwing in different places outside the US. So that's really my big goal for next year, is just getting into as many meets as possible, and also, continuing to hopefully make US teams down the line. It's not going to get any easier. There's always girls that are ready to take your place and ready to throw super far. So I have to continue to better myself, and get more consistent at the level I'm at, and kind of get that top end up as well, so I can be more competitive at the US championships and continue to put myself on teams. So I'm excited to make some small technical changes this year that my coach and I have talked about, and maybe change a few things up, but I'll honestly just keep a lot of the things the same, and just continue to rep it out and just get consistent, and know that no matter what meet I can go to, I can still perform decently. So that's the big goal.
What advice would you give those people that are in college that are looking to compete in college track and field in the throwing competitions?
Um, I would say consistency is really big. Being consistent not only in your training, but in what you do, and what you think about. So I'm a big advocate of, my favorite slogan is chop wood, carry water. And that kind of came about from this book that I read. But a big thing for me is, you can't just have one day where you're all in on training. You can't just have one day a month, one day a week. You kind of have to be all in all the time. And not every day is going to be great. So get ready for that, because honestly, you're only going to have a few good days a week, a few good days a month. But at the end of the day, it's all about just putting in that body of work and staying consistent with what you're doing, and consistently have intention too is really important. So um, not just kind of half-heartedly being at training, not just kind of going through the motions, but intentionally focusing on something that day. And no matter if it's good or bad, or no matter how good you feel or how bad you feel, just continuing to chop wood and carry water, and just do the same thing over and over, and eventually the results will come, because this isn't a short game sport. This is a long game sport, and um, all of those improvements and distances and all of those PRs are going to come because you put a big body of work in beforehand. So being consistent and just chopping wood and carrying water.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to go compete professionally for Team USA or Canada in throwing?
Um, yeah, I mean, the US team, it's the hardest team to make, so there's a lot of people you're gonna have to beat out. But I'd say just getting consistent again, being consistent with your throwing, and knowing that at any given day, even if you're at your worst, that bottom level is still good enough to be competitive. And also, I would say the biggest thing is really just having confidence in yourself, and knowing that you can do it, and having confidence and trusting in your training. Because if you're going into a meet questioning anything or doubting anything, then you've already set yourself up for failure. So having that confidence and finding training that you can be confident in is really important.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
I'm on Instagram, at Jill_Shippee. So follow me on Instagram, and you can follow along with the rest of my throwing career.
Thank you again, Jill Shippee, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as a USA track and field hammer thrower.
Thanks, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Jill Shippee, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Yeah, thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.